Welcome to Thriving from Anxiety. My name is Sherry Anna Boyle, and I'm here with my co-host Cindy Horgan. And as always, we're really excited to be here today. Our plan is to create some really great discussion, to hopefully have a few laughs, lighten things up a little bit, and finally to leave you with some tips and tools and ways for not only to cope, but also how do you thrive from anxiety. In between shows, I want to let you know that you can get in touch with us. You can go to our Facebook page called Thriving from Anxiety, and is there that you can message us, give us your comments, and send us your questions. Today we're talking about worry, and I want to begin with you, Cindy, if you could kick us off on this discussion.
Sure, thank you. When I think about worry, and I'm always using that lens from thinking of it as a parent as well as a teacher, and I think of children and worry specifically, and I see it show itself in so many different ways. We call it behavior, but it's in so many different ways. The child that we may look at and say, oh, there's a learning disability because they're not focused. And if we really get to a lot of times, right down to the core, worry is preoccupied.
Absolutely.
Kind of just running thoughts, like lots of things that are all jumbled up in there. And it's one of the ways that I start to really see it. And when do I see children that maybe are not being looked at from the worry lens, but in another way is, if you ask a child a question, and it's a really simple question like, what did you have for breakfast? And they say, I don't know. I'm like, well, what the heck is going on here? But what I have really come to understand is that's myself saying, what do they want from me? What is it I'm having to provide here? And it's sort of a coping mechanism. And so very often when I get a lot of I don't know, very often we kind of throw our hands up.
Right.
And we kind of say, they're not even in the same zone as us. And that frustration, and we sort of distance ourselves, or we don't finish the connection.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
I have a couple of other ways, but let's talk about that one there.
Absolutely. And I like the way you define worry. I also define it as that unease, when you're not feeling ease, the opposite of unease, or when you're dwelling about the past or overthinking the future. But I hear what you're saying in regards to children. It can show up as a form of distractibility. And what I spend a lot of times teaching people is that worry is, our emotions are a form of energy. And worry happens to be a very low vibrational energy when it shows up in the body. So that's why it kind of feels, worry, it reminds me of if you've ever gotten your car stuck in a snowbank.
And I happen to have had that experience a few times.
And so have I. And you're usually rushing, wanting to get somewhere, and you back up.
Never convenient. No.
And so you get stuck in a snowbank, and you try your hardest to get out of it, and it just kind of runs the wheels over and over and over and over and over again. And that's actually what's happening in the body. So it's showing up. We're seeing it through behavior, through distractibility. What we can't always see is the thoughts that are going on. But even deeper than that is there's an energy that's rerunning itself. It's a vibration in the body.
And so some of the other ways that I see that, now that you're putting it into sort of that light, is, one of the ways that we see it in adults and children is sort of this hoarding. Needing to get lots of stuff and keep that engine. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
And and so when we're looking at hoarding, I'm seeing workshops, classes on hoarding, and and so.
Yes.
But when we really, so it's everything goes from that place, and you always say about that emotion within is our guide.
Absolutely.
In what it's telling us.
Well, I do believe, and I know you had the chance to read the 4 Gifts of Anxiety, and I do believe that worry has something to tell us. I mean, one, it has to tell us that we're holding something in the body.
Yep.
We're rerunning some neurocircuitry in the brain, because everything neurologically takes a certain pathway. And if you do it enough times, the pathway becomes grooved, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like when you drive to work and you get there and you're like, gosh, I don't even remember the drive. You know, we're just grooved that way, and that's the same way with worry. I do believe that what I find when I work with people is that when they realize there's something that they need to know, right? It's like worry keeps going, and then all of a sudden they realize, aha, I needed to know that. And as soon as they find out that little thing, it's like a little sort of an aha moment, they're able to release it. And very often it's something that they believe, right? Something that they didn't know that they were necessarily carrying, that they're buying into or believing about themselves or about their situation, what they're choosing to focus on. And then once they realize it, they're like, ah. And it's almost like the body says, okay, you got it. Now I'm going to allow it to move a little bit so you can breathe and
You know, one of the things that, as you're saying that, I think of, you know, how often, and I'm thinking of young adults. Let's say that they're an athlete, you know, and there's a level there of that worry, and sometimes we call it, you know, that intensity.
Yeah.
We'll give it that name there. And it's kind of like it kind of keeps going and keeps going, and then we see this just real meltdown.
Yeah.
And so, you know, part of it is giving real language to what's the worry. Well, what if we lose?
Yeah.
What if we lose? And
then, the what if.
Yeah, the what if.
Yes.
And what if you lose? What does it mean? What does it mean? And putting perspective is everything that we need. You
Absolutely.
know? And so one of the biggest things that worry, if we really recognize worry, and we identify what our real goal is, getting a healthy perspective.
Right.
You know, put things into the place that they belong. Leave what needs to be left. Exactly. There's some worry that we need to carry with us because it becomes our energy for problem solving.
Right. Absolutely. That's a really good point. And in the example that you brought up, I would zone in right on that lose piece, because when we're kind of stuck, which is what worry does, it's kind of like rerunning those wheels, right?
Yeah.
What is it about losing that's bringing something up for you? And that's where I would go with that individual. There might be something there that you need to know.
Judgment, I'm not good enough.
That's right.
It's a bigger picture.
That's right. Yeah. Very good.
I love it when I'm all
now
right.
you may release it.
I know. Let it go.
So there's always something that you need to know. That's what I believe. That's what worry has taught me. There's something also that needs to be released, or is looking to be released, I should say. And then there's growth. Right? Growth and expansion, right?
And I think the other word for growth is when we really, nothing is so amazing, is that letting it go. Just seeing it and letting it go.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
And those pieces there. And, you know, it's amazing. I listened to this mom tell a story the other day, and she was kind of flying up Route 6, and they were painting the bridge, so that stopped, right? So she's flying up Route 6, and she gets a blowout in her tire, and she has her little 3-year-old in the car.
Oh, gosh.
Yes. And so, you know, Mom kept all of this stuff together. Pulls over. It was not pretty. This wonderful policeman came along and helped and everything, but Mom, her energy was carrying over into the back seat on all those other trips up Route 6. And so this worry was kind of growing into the back seat. And she talked about finally her little one in the problem solving said, black tire's not broken anymore, nice man's out there to help us, you know, in a really healthy perspective.
I like that,
But we get that trigger again, you know, oh God, this is where it happened. And in the beginning we can say, oh geez, this is where my tire blew out.
Right.
Then it becomes almost like we can't even we can feel it in our heart.
Right.
Oh, hold on here, I gotta get on the side here in case my tire blows out again. So a lot of sort of experience can guide that worry.
Absolutely.
Of what happened before.
Right, absolutely. The triggers. The
Yep.
triggers can come in. And, you know, now that you're bringing this up, and I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, not from worry, but something that is world events, right?
Yes.
And this, maybe this show will be released, and this will, I'm sure, still be at the forefront of our mind, and that is the Ebola. You know, people are really worried right now. And I actually, today, I was speaking with my college students, and I walked in, today is Monday, and I said to them, how are you doing? You know, how's everybody doing with this Ebola crisis going on? And they it just all came out. I mean, the worries, you know, the extreme worry, and really needing to talk about it, and really needing some guidance. And I don't know if you've had any experiences in the groups that you do, or if you're hearing much about that yourself, but I know that's at the forefront of everybody's mind, is just worried about what's going to happen, right?
And you know, Sherry, I think that these times are changing. I think we're a much more worried world than even 20 years ago. And I'm going to go back to when I was in college. And the AIDS epidemic.
Right.
It was this silent thing going on out there.
Right.
And we didn't know the capacity of worry, because it was so, you know, we didn't have, it wasn't out there like this. I mean, I'm talking in the very, very early days. And then it became overwhelming, the level of fear.
Right.
And, you know, that was our, you know, because prior to that, we had things like polio and things like that, but vaccines came in, and we didn't worry.
Right.
We were doing it, but there's been such a shift.
Right.
Plus media.
Huge.
There's not a moment that's not out there.
Right.
You know, I think that, you know, we are, you know, one of the things that you and I talk a lot about is sort of the manifestation of fear.
Right.
And that's exactly what this is. My feeling always, because I do think these conversations are really important, but what can I control?
Right.
When it's about worry, what is it that I have some control over?
Right. What can you influence?
Influence or control, exactly. And I like the word influence better.
Yes.
You know, so I'm talking with parents that are concerned about the other viruses that are out there.
Right.
So we are, you know, precaution, washing hands.
Right.
You know, if you're sick, don't go.
Right.
You know, a little bit of common sense would help us a lot on how this works.
And what my focus today really with my students, well, number one, what my intention was to just provide a safe space for that. And I do believe that it's times like this where we need to just stop, and we need to say to each other, how are you doing? You know, what's on your mind? Because worry is so internal. You know, and like you said, I mean, it can be going on. You can pick up on behaviors, and you can find yourself doing all the detective work, but you really don't know what's going inside of that person's brain unless you take the time over and over again to sit down and say, how are you doing? You know, what's on your mind?
And you know, Cher, the way that you say it is with such a sort of intention that I really want to know how you're doing.
Right.
And I think that is such an important message of what you and I are talking about.
Right.
I can't tell you how often I get annoyed with myself.
Yeah.
Because I do this walk down the hall and put out a big smile.
Right.
How you doing?
Yes.
And I keep going.
Yes.
I didn't stay for the answer.
Yes.
What is wrong with me? You know, and I think
right.
To do it in a very genuine way.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
You know, even you and I, when we greet each other, we're kind of busy and we kind of,
yeah, it takes a few moments.
And then we take a moment, we do
right.
it kind of naturally. We take
yes.
that breath and we're like,
yes.
so how's it going? And then
yes.
we really start to check in.
Right.
And checking in is a key component to it.
Right.
Having someone that you can check in
yes.
with and
yes.
how that works.
Yeah, I really learned the value of that today, and especially when I had some students come up to me after and they said, you know, I really appreciate you taking the time to just create that. And again, I think that you just have to put everything down
yeah.
and say curriculum or not, you know, list of things to do or not. You just got to put down the dishes.
But you know,
and
yeah.
how are you doing? You know, and I find I have to remind myself with my own husband, you know, to look at him and say, how are you? I mean, you know, his position is he does work in and out of the hospital setting. And after I was with my students today, I thought, geez, I really need to check in with how are you doing? How are you doing as well? Yeah. But I think it can help so much if we, go ahead.
No, but my point after you're finished.
Yeah, just the checking in with each other. You can't undermine it.
No.
The
comfort of it
yes.
and the rhythm of it.
Yes, yes.
And you know, I got to tell you, it's something that you really have to be thinking about because we don't all do it
yes.
sort of intuitively like you did today.
Yeah.
You know, you just took a sense. You were able to, because you have that emotional voice here, you were able to take the pulse.
Yes.
But when we start to do it, you know, I know as a mom, and I'm looking at it from the relationship of family. And I have this filthy habit, I may have shared it with you, that I can't wait to see who wants my money from the mailbox. So when all those bills come in, and I'm telling you, it's a horrible habit that I have, but I get the mail and I start automatically going through it. And I created this habit that was my first priority, which just makes me nuts. But it's like smoking. I'm struggling with this. And so that bad habit, but I found myself doing this, seeing who wants my money and saying, how was school? And
gotcha.
Imagine what happened. The very first time I heard, because I would hear the sort of the routine answers from them. I hate school. Why do you make me go or whatever?
Right.
But then one day when I was looking to see who wanted my money, I heard it was kind of scary today. I got to tell you, my heart fell down to my feet.
Wow.
And I realized, oh my gosh, imagine if I hadn't had that gift of hearing that.
Of picking that up.
Of hearing that.
Yes.
And from there, I was able to really, it shocked me into response, is what it did.
Right.
And I had to really start to practice that process. And it is about practice.
And it is a practice because so many of us want to give advice or make it all better, and really today was just such a great reminder of how we really don't need to have all the answers, and just being in that space of just letting everybody air it out. And also the value of everyone hearing each other, and how, especially if you're in a group situation, so individuals are viewers that work in your workplace or in classrooms or wherever you are, just getting everybody together, you know, it's that gathering and asking, how is everybody doing? And just letting it roll. No, and them hearing each other, because not everyone's going to see it the same way. You know, and I think that's why we avoid it. Is we're like, oh, if I bring it up,
then they're going to think about it.
Then they're going to think about it.
Then they're going to get worse.
But it's not true.
No, exactly.
That's not what happens. That's not what happens.
And it's about
I think that's our fear. If I just pretend it's not there and we keep going on with our day, then they're gonna forget about it. You know, right?
And I can get really silly with this, and I won't, because it is such an important part of what we're saying here. Is that so often when someone is in sadness or somebody is really in that deep place of worry, we live with this fear that we're gonna remind them of it. If we ask how they're doing, if we check in with them. And I can remember points in my world when it was just so full with worry, with things going on.
No, I mean, certainly you do have to be mindful as to how you report information. I mean, you really don't want to have the TV running and all that kind of stuff, which you and I were together during 9/11.
Exactly.
You know, we were doing our classes together during that time, and I'll never forget it, where we looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, we gotta put together a curriculum for crisis management, and we did. We went out there, and we were just as in shock as the rest of the world, and supported people.
And the biggest thing that we did, Sherry, when we did that, is we said, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And we listened.
Right.
We listened.
Yes.
That was the most important part of that, was to listen.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that you and I have these wonderful opportunities for conversation about this. And very often we come back to the same set of tools. It's about being intentional. It's about being genuine. It's about really listening.
Absolutely.
The first place we really need to listen to is ourselves. What is my moral, what is my temperature right now?
Right, right.
And then to the world around us.
And also to remember that the opposite of worry is faith.
Yep.
Right? So if we really want to support other people as well as ourselves, we really do have to develop that piece of ourselves in whatever way feels comfortable for us. Just faith and your belief has to be bigger than the worry. Your belief in everything's going to be okay it has to be bigger, you know. And I was watching on I never watched the news, but I was putting on one of those kid shows for my 6-year-old this morning, and I came across a physician that has gone in to Africa for the Ebola, and she was talking about the precautions that she took, and she went in and how she helped people and how she's come back to the United States. But I listened to her, and all I could hear was the incredible courage, for one, you know, and faith and the strength, you know. And if we can just hear more from people like that, you know, just absolutely fearless. I mean, she just said, I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go back and help again. I mean, it's just her commitment. And during times like this, that we got to dig deep. So
yeah, we do.
We got to dig deep. We got to come together, number one, and then we got to dig a little bit deeper than we do in ordinary life. And
you know, and it is that faith is it looks a lot. It's different in many different ways, and one of the ways that I see it and again, you and I have different journeys. You know, you get to be in that role of teacher at college and in that place there, but I'm always looking at it from that lens of sort of parent and caregiver.
Right.
And sometimes what faith looks like there is not necessarily, you know, that courage and that coming right from the soul, but that place that says, I believe in you.
That's right.
That's what my faith is.
That's right.
I believe that this is something that you're thinking a lot about, and I believe that you're going to be able to work through it, and I'm here to help you do it.
Not here to fix you.
Not here to fix you, but here to be your support, your partner.
Right. And not to diminish your pain, not to say everything's going to be fine, or I went through it, or these kinds of statements that we can kind of throw out there that diminish it, you know, that statements such as, it must be very difficult, however, I'm confident that you're going to get through this okay, that we're going to get through this okay, really can make the world a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, you know, in the moment when it feels like everything's fallen down. And today I happened to be in a group. I was with a group, and what was really clear to me is that worry was big in this space. And when we started to talk about worry being uncertainty, and we were able to, as a group, start to talk about what is it in this moment that we know to be true.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that what we know to be true.
In the now.
Yeah. In the now,
in
as you say.
Yep. Yeah.
And because uncertainty can be a train wreck with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I hope this helps a lot of people, and I do want to. We thought this week we would, or this episode, we would share a tip together, and that is the tip of breathing. One of the quickest ways that you can shift yourself out of a certain mood or a state of mind is to breathe. And I know many people know that, but there is a little bit of skill to it. It's something you can develop in many ways, but would you want to take a breath with me now, Sin?
I would love that. Thank you.
All right, so let's sit up nice and tall. And the main thing with breathing, when you get worried, it tends to go right here in the chest. And I have a dog in my neighborhood that makes me nervous, and I walk every morning. And so when I'm walking by that house, right, even though it's only happened maybe 2 times, and all the times,
two too many.
Those two too many, right? I feel it right here in my chest, right?
Okay.
So the idea is you want to get down in your belly. All right. So you want to take an inhale from the belly, and it takes time because we're so used to puffing the chest out, and then exhale, right?
Okay.
Right. So you want to.
I'm working.
You want to you want to inhale through your lower half. There. Look at you. And sometimes, and then exhale. You can exhale. Nice. You're good. Very nice. Very nice.
You took me to the beach once. It's not my first rodeo.
That's right, I remember that. So you're going to take an inhale. You're going to inhale. It helps to puff it out in stages, Sin. So in the beginning, inhale 1, 2, 3, and then exhale. And I think of it as a little slidey shoe. Inhale.
A what?
You go up I picture walking up the stairs and sliding down on my exhale.
You made that word up, did you not?
I did. I made it up. Okay, so, all right, so inhale, 1, go up the slide, 2, 3, puff it out, and now down, exhale. Bring it in. Does that image help you at all? Inhale, 1, 2, 3, puff it out, and exhale. Great.
I'm missing the puff it out thing, but I'm getting them.
Okay. Puff out your belly one more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. And viewers, see how she's lifting her chin? You want your chin down a little bit. And exhale, good. All right, because what happens, Sin, the reason I bring the chin thing is you push in the back of your neck and there's a nerve there, okay? So we're gonna exhale. So I hope that helped you.
It does. And I think that we did have fun, but I do think that breathing piece to become a natural part of beginning my day and in the moments.
Yeah.
Today we really talked about worry. We talked about it in a real sense, that it is a part of the human condition.
Right.
And we talked about the most important thing is connection, being heard.
That's right.
And a belief, a faith that we can move this forward.
That's right.
And so worry is not something that should derail us, but as we've been saying, guide us.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about thriving from anxiety, it's one of those other pieces that directs us and brings us to the place we want to be.
Absolutely.
So we want to say thank you this week for joining us on Thriving from Anxiety. And we hope that this is helpful to you. I know that we're enjoying it very much. So peace is what I tell you.